Welcome back, Troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we have a beautiful 1987 Gibson SG Custom. I really love these late 80s SG Customs. They're kind of built in that prehistoric era, but I can't really call it a prehistoric version because they don't have the correct serial number stamp on it. So they're just kind of the regular Les Paul Custom Reissues back when these things were actually called Les Pauls. Now, I've had a few of these on my channel if you look back a month or two ago. One had one of those fancy vibrola tailpieces added onto it. One was very similar to this. A very common modification on these guitars is they'll put that Les Paul Custom tenon cover and a truss rod cover over it. I've never really been able to find out if some of them actually did get them from the factory. I'm pretty sure that they all came blank like this though, and some people just modify it to look more vintage correct. But this is a really cool guitar. Once again, I've had 3 of these. One of them arrived to me in a very bad shape with the neck broken off. Now this one, it kind of maybe got damaged in shipping. I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to be keeping this guitar. I'll definitely go over everything that I see. 3 pickups. You're kind of outside of the Tim Shaw era where the pickups still look like Tim Shaw's. I'm not even 100% sure if they are Shaw's. They do sound phenomenal though, but I think they might be going towards that P490 that they switched to. But they definitely look like Shaw's. They got your brass screws, original patent numbers over them, but you have your 3 humbuckers, which is awesome. You have your ABR1 bridge, traditional tailpiece, no fancy vibrolas on these, but once again, some people do add them. 3-way switch and ebony board. The face of the headstock on this one's in pretty good shape. I mean, this is probably the cleanest one of these that I've had. Once you get it in the light here, you can see there's some small string change wear and all that. Mainly around here, there's some light scratching. You can see right there. But overall, I mean, it's in good shape. It has that almost 90s characteristic. I mean, this is definitely a late 80s headstock. In the 90s, they get even a little bit more blockish with the logo. But not too much aging to the lacquer on this one. Truss rod works just fine. And something kind of unique on this example is the nut. It's very refined. I would almost say it's been replaced, but it has the original lacquer over it there. Now on the treble side of the neck, you do have some wear in the finish, some finish check lines where the binding truly ends. No breaks, cracks, or repairs or anything. It's a bit of an eyesore, but it's nothing to worry about. It's actually very common on white guitars for that to occur. Now what's really nice about this example is you don't have that along the side of the binding on the neck, and that is very, very common on white guitars. So this is a fantastic example. It's kind of got a 60s kind of medium profile going on. I mean, it's not huge, but it's not quite that super slim 60s that I'm used to with SGs. It's a little bit more rounded and not as wide feeling. Well, until you get up here anyways. So very comfortable neck profile. The frets show very minor wear, if any at all. Ebony fretboard, I treated that with lemon oil. I mean, it really is a fantastic playing guitar. I mean, you've got some light fret buzz, but I'm sure a general setup would take care of that. And nothing that's like really too audible once you amplify the guitar. Really cool. A nice creamed out color. I looked underneath the pickguard. The finish hasn't changed too much in color, but has a little bit. But overall, I mean, this guitar's in good shape. It's got some light surface wear, some scratches and nicks and dings, but this is definitely the cleanest one I've had. You can see one of those dings right there. I mean, it's a very nice example. There you can see the center seam, which isn't exactly perfectly center, as you can see there. It's a little offset, but definitely still a nice guitar. No breaks, cracks, or repairs around here. Knobs are original. I mean, this is a fantastic early 87 example. It's actually made the 9th day of the year, so it's almost an 86, so this is definitely one of the earlier ones I've had. Back of the headstock here, you can see serial number is 80, looks like 097588, made in USA. Now these earlier ones got the traditional style Grover tuners. Some slightly later ones got like the Gibson Schaller branded ones that didn't have any pilot holes. So a lot of people will end up upgrading these guitars to Grovers like these earlier ones, so it's definitely nice that you have the gold Grovers on this one. No breaks, cracks, or repairs to the headstock. There's a little bit of dirt and grime buildup here that might look like a repair, but it's not. I'll show you under blacklight. Once again, you don't have any major wear on the back of the neck. I mean, you've got some small impressions. It's kind of hard to see here, but hopefully under blacklight it'll show you a little better. So if you can deal with some light impressions, I mean, that's definitely the worst of it. I also have some light dots up here, but nothing too bad. SGs are notoriously weak in the heels. All the original ones have pretty much have had heel repairs at some point in time. However, it's very common for cracking around this neck joint to happen just because the finish is brittle. I'm not sure if this is going to show up real well here because of the shadowing. But there is a small crack in the paint around the neck joint there, and it's just kind of on the back. And I've done tests on this guitar. I've tried putting light pressure on the neck to see if that moves at all, and it doesn't. There's none of that on the side, so that tells me the neck has never been out of this guitar. This side has a little, so it's definitely very common. I don't think the neck has been compromised at all. I took the tenon cover off to check and make sure. There was a little bit of finish checking under there, but the neck is 100% solid, stable, secure. It holds to tune, it plays great. I wouldn't worry about this example personally. I will say one of the only things that has been replaced on this guitar is the strap buttons. It looks like it still has the original screws, but you can see that it's a silver button on both sides, so the buttons themselves have likely been replaced. Now the back of the guitar is in good shape. You've got some light buckle wear and some nicks and dings, but once again, this is probably the cleanest one I've seen. The back plate actually still has the original plastic over it, and everything appears to be original in there. The pickup covers on this guitar were once removed. You can kind of see when you take the pickups out that the solder definitely looks like it was touched up on the covers. So they might not even be the original pickup covers themselves, but they do fit perfectly as they should. And I'm guessing due to the wear, I think they are the original ones. Somebody just wanted that 3 exposed coils at one point in time. So a SG Custom 3 pickup in this kind of finish. Very classy guitar. It's very Mary Ford, Les Paul's original wife. Definitely a very cool guitar. I definitely suggest checking one out. 3 pickup guitars aren't for everyone. A lot of people will lower that 3rd pickup down really far because there's not a lot of picking room once you have 3 humbuckers, smushed together. It's nice kind of on the later 70s customs. They actually have a little bit of room so you can pick. This one, it's pretty crowded, so you might want to lower that down. But that's really the only downfall to this guitar besides, their weak heel joints. But playability and sound-wise, these are some of my favorite blacklight test. Everything's looking good on the front of the headstock. No finish touch-ups or anything like that. The front of the guitar is also looking good, with not too much really to speak of. It's a really clean example for how old it is, and I like how well those knobs blacklight because they really don't look that aged in normal lighting. For the headstock here, you can see some very light wear and tear, but nothing too bad. There's some gunk on the guitar. That's kind of what those little dots are. It's not really wear through the finish. Now down here, there is a very suspicious line. I don't think that's a headstock repair. Usually you'll see some sort of touch-up around that, and it really just looks like some gunk that's kind of been built up. But I don't know the full history of this guitar. It definitely just looks like a gunk line, but there is a small scratch. But the rest of the neck is in good shape. And we'll take a look at the heel area right here. You can kind of see that crack line I'm talking about a little bit better. I mean, the neck could be slightly weakened. It was shipped UPS to me, and they're famous for breaking these things. But it's not been repaired, and the neck is definitely still in its spot. Take a look around the sides of the guitar as well. This thing's in great shape, and it is a beautiful SG Custom. This one weighs 7 pounds 14.4 ounces, which is pretty reasonable. Something else I want to point out here, the ebony, obviously it's ebony, but as it goes up it kind of has some characteristic streaking to it where it's reddish. A lot of times Gibson will reject ebony like this. This is the reason why there's so little ebony left in the world, is because guitar manufacturers don't want to use the kind that has the streaking like this. And sometimes they'll throw away whole trees just because it's not perfect. But it's kind of unique to see that on an older Gibson. I also want to point out in my tests, when there's no string tension on the neck, there is a very slight twist to the neck. It's not a lot, and once you put string tension on, all the tension makes it just the way it should be, perfectly level. This guitar comes in a Generation 3 chainsaw case, which is probably the original case to this guitar. Usually only these early ones will get these nice chainsaw cases. This one does have all 3 functioning latches, which is great, but you're missing the Gibson logo on the outside because they were just glued on, as you can see, and they fall off occasionally. The case is in good shape, no major dents, dings to it. I mean, you got some scratches, but it has a beautiful blue interior. The hinges are still good on it. It'll keep the case up, but since the top's actually heavier than the bottom, it will kind of tip a little bit if you don't have the guitar in it. But you can see it looks like there's been a few different guitars in here, so it's probably not the original case. It looks like there's been a Les Paul and a SG in here. But overall it's in good shape. Usually this is falling down worse than that. I mean, there's nothing to really secure it there. So it's in good shape. No case candy or anything, but it's definitely a cool case. The cleans will be running through a Gibson Super Gold Tone GA30RV. The dirty tones come from a Marshall JMP 1C. If you think you might be interested in this SG Custom, feel free to contact me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Troglys, Trogoys, or check out the eBay and Reverb listings. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Trogly's Guitar Show. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.